My name is Dave Beal. I'm the program director for Brain Power Wellness from New York, and it's my honor and privilege to be here with you guys today. I want to thank Ilchi Lee and all of the people here in New Zealand who have worked tirelessly to create this amazing event. We've been waiting with a lot of anticipation in the United States, and I know my team in New York is watching this right now on Facebook Live. So I'm very, very privileged to be here, and I want to thank everyone here for making this happen. So I'm the director of a group called Brain Power Wellness, and our job is to share the feeling that we have from brain education with our kids. So by a show of hands, those of you who have trained in a body and brain center. Anyone here? Okay. So I think many of us. And then some of you who are here locally, did you come last night to the festival? Yeah, that was pretty fun, right? And so you saw us doing belly button healing and that kind of thing. So we have classes for adults that focus on mind-body connection, creating good intestinal health, good energy circulation, and just living a healthy lifestyle. And the Earth Citizen movement embodies the collective vision of that. So health for myself, my community, and our world. And Brain Power Wellness, our job is to kind of share that with the world through our school system. So I taught 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade in New York City. And when I first started teaching, I was part of something called the New York City Teaching Fellows. And this is a really great program that pays for your graduate school education. And if you agree for at least 2 years to work in schools that are very difficult to staff. So these are some of the lowest performing, toughest schools in the city. And so I was assigned to the 5th lowest performing school in all of New York City. So there are 2,000 schools in New York City. So the 5th lowest school is a big deal. So it was a very difficult environment. And I went in with a lot of passion because I've always wanted to be someone who contributed to a better world. That's why I became an educator. And I figured I need about 2 weeks to kind of turn this place around. That's what I thought when I first came in. But unfortunately, the only thing that got turned around was me, so I got kind of flipped upside down. And I just wasn't equipped to deal with the stress of the day-to-day grind of teaching. And so I started doing things that I thought I would never do. I started yelling at kids. I did a lot of things I'm not proud of, to be very honest. No, really. And a lot of things that I still see. We consult with over 400 schools around the country, and I see it every day. Really great people, really good meaning people who aren't able to handle the stress of the situation that they're in and then react in a way that's not in accordance with their value. And those of us who are parents, I think you also can relate to what I'm saying sometimes. So I realized very quickly that I needed to get some help. And so I was very lucky and still am very lucky to be married to a very wise and amazing person. Some of you know, Dawn Kurasima. And she told me, you're probably going to die if you keep doing this, like this. And so she encouraged me to start training at the Body and Brain Center where she was practicing. And so I went there, and at first, my first month, I hated every single class because my body was so stiff, and I couldn't do a lot of the exercises. And when it came time to meditate, my mind was so busy, I couldn't think about anything except how much my lower back was hurting. And so every night, I think my wife got me, I think Dawn got me a 1-month pass. And so every class, I would go, and then when we would leave, I'd say, sweetie, I think that's my last class. I don't think I'm going to come back. And she said, no, just keep trying. You're getting better. She'd encourage me. She was very positive. And then one night we were walking. It was a long time ago. My son was just maybe 1 or 2 years old, so we were pushing him in a stroller. We were walking in the summer. And I said, sweetie, I really appreciate you trying to help, but I think this is great for you, but I'm not going to go back. And she said, okay. And that kind of was surprising, because usually she tells me, no, keep going, So then I said, all right, well, I'm going to try one more class. And then if I don't like it, then I'm really done for real this time. And what I realized, I was sharing with Dr. George, with Lily during lunch, what I realized, what kept me coming back was the unconditional love that I felt from the instructors and the other members at the center. So no matter what my day was like, if I had done a great job and really inspired young people at my school, or if I had been short-tempered and I had yelled, or I had just kind of fallen short of my goals, no matter what happened, I was greeted with a smile and a hug and genuine love in their eyes, really seeing through that exterior and into who I really am and my potential. And so through that training, I was able to start looking inside myself as well and starting to see what was really there. So I feel amazingly blessed and privileged to have benefited from this training since this is 2004 when I joined the center. So shortly after joining, I started having some really good benefits for myself. I was able to deal with my health a lot. My chest pain went away. My headaches went away. I was able to sleep better. I wish I could only sleep 3 hours. I sleep a little bit more than Ilchili. But now all of those kind of health problems went away. And so I started sharing what I was learning at the center with my students, not really knowing what I was doing, just piece by piece. And then I learned about the program for children. And I took a 2-day workshop, and I started to bring this program into my classroom. And at first, this was my 3rd year in the classroom. And so I had gotten the most challenging class in the entire school. All the boys that none of the other teachers wanted, they put them in my class. I was the only male teacher on my grades. I was supposed to be the tough guy, or Zan, tough guy. And so I was trying to implement the positivity and the love and the feelings of happiness that I had at the center with my students, but because they were used to a kind of a more controlling, authoritative atmosphere, it didn't go over well. But once I learned these techniques and I brought this in systematically, things completely changed in my class. So it took about 1 month of implementation. And the very first day, I introduced a couple of games to my class. And half the kids, these guys were pretty tough, half of them said, "I'm not doing that." And then they sat down. And the other half, they participated. And we did the exercise, and they really enjoyed it. And then the next day, half of the kids who refused, they joined. And then they started to really like it. And it kept going that way for about a week until I just had one boy who wasn't doing the exercise. And he would sit down. Every time we were going to do Power Brain, he just sat down. Kwame Bowen was his name. He's the coolest kid. And then I remember like it was yesterday. And it was in the afternoon, and we hadn't done Power Brain yet. And I had the schedule on the board. And Kwame came up to me, and he said, "Mr. B, are we going to do the Power Brain today?" And I said, Kwame, why are you asking? I thought you didn't like Power Brain. He said, "I'm not saying I like it. I'm just asking, are we going to do it, And then I said, "Well, I don't know, Kwame, we're a little behind schedule, so we might not have time today." And he said, "All right." And then he went back to his seat, and when he thought that he was out of earshot, he went to everybody around, and he was like, "Hurry up, you guys, finish up, hurry up. Like that. So then I knew he was on board. So I made a little bit of time, and he joined the exercise, and that's when the class really started to transform. To the point where about a month into the program, my principal came to me, and she said, "What did you do to your kids? There's no more fighting. The kids aren't in the principal's office. They're really respectful to the school aides in the cafeteria. Like, what's going on?" Because I didn't tell her that I had gotten trained in brain education, because I didn't think she was going to support that kind of approach. So I invited her into my class, and I showed her some of these exercises. And then she was so impressed that we turnkeyed to the other teachers in the building. And that was in 2004. And since then, I was able to create kind of a district model. And then I decided, this is my passion, this is what I want to do with my life. And so for the last almost 10 years now, I've had the real honor of being able to partner with about 400 schools around the country and just share these very simple methods with the parents, the teachers, and the students there. So yeah, thank you. And then, speaking of honor, and it's still hard for me to understand that this actually happened, but it took about 10 years, but we were able to publish our first book with Brain Power Wellness. So it's called The Brain Power Classroom. And so I want to talk a little bit today about what's the methods in the book and some stories and hopefully to give you a little bit of hope about where we're going with the education system. So let's see. My topic is about empowering future leaders. So that begins with relationships. So in the classroom, the three most important relationships are the relationship between the teacher and the student and the student, and the student and themselves, right? So what I love about our program is we do a lot of team building activities. So like what we did when Silver Star was my partner and doing the stretching exercise, those kind of things, those become just norms that the students lead throughout the day in the classroom. Did you guys have fun when we did that? Yes. Were you able to make some new friends in the room? Right? So you can feel, when you do those things, you can feel the energy in the room shifts. Right? And then from a brain perspective, we release endorphins. We're more in the moment. We have a positive association with what we're doing, and then we have better retention and better learning about what's happening, curriculum-wise. So relationships are of the utmost importance. All the research shows the number one indicator of student success is the relationship between the student and the teacher. Do I think this person cares about me? Do I trust this person? Am I willing to open up with this person? So a lot of our training is based on helping the teacher to create the collaborative atmosphere that can lead to that success. And so the paradigm, right now I don't know much. I'm eager to learn about the system here in New Zealand, but in the United States we have a lot to learn, a long way to go. We're currently about 26th internationally in our results in education. And I think the number one reason that is because our paradigm is flawed. So the current system of education for most students in the United States is in a system of control. So actually you could make the argument that the whole system of education was created for that, right? This factory model of creating good, docile workers. And we actually haven't really adapted from that model very much over the last 100 years. So we have about 30 students who are crammed together in a classroom. And then the predominant model is, I'm the teacher, you're the student, you should listen to what I say. If you had a similar experience as a student in school, can you raise your hand? Or like Ilchi said, like this? Okay, good. Right, so I also had that experience. But there's some variations there, right? So you had some teachers who didn't make you feel that way and some who did. Is that right? Right, I know I did. Our goal is to have to empower our teachers with tools that they can use to move from the system of control to the system of harmonious collaboration. So that students are doing the right thing, but they're doing the right thing because it feels good intrinsically, right? Not because they're worried about getting in trouble. That's not leadership, right? So when someone tries to make you do something, when someone tries to control you, do you like that feeling? Right. No one likes that feeling. No one wants to be controlled. So if someone tries to control you, you have two options, right? You can go along with what they're asking you to do, or you can rebel against it, right? So you can either comply or defy, right? So as a teacher, those of you who have worked with groups of people, is defiance a positive outcome for you? When the kids are rebelling against you, right? That's not a good outcome. Right? But I want you to think about compliance. So having students who, she's so well behaved, she always listens to the teacher. She always does everything she's told. Is that what you want for your children? Right. So we talk about leadership and creative problem solvers and they're independent critical thinkers, but then we praise docility. Right? So the paradigm is very flawed. So the third option is that they should want to intrinsically do the right thing because it feels good to them. So that's our goal, is to create that environment of collaboration. And then that takes a student-centered approach. So instead of the teacher teaching these exercises, we train student leaders to be the ones who are teaching to their peers. And then many of you are familiar with the multiple intelligence theory. Is that right? Yes. Okay, so does everyone here learn the same way? Right. Raise your hand if you know your dominant learning style. Right. It's less than 10% of the room. That should be astounding. So Ilchi Lee is fond, in his lectures, fond of saying that we have manuals to operate our computer, even our toaster oven and our car, but we don't have a manual to operate the human brain. All right? So what I love about brain education is that it empowers the students themselves to know more about themselves, to know themselves more deeply, and then how their brain works so they can excel and they can be successful. Right? So I want to share an exercise with you now that incorporates a couple of different intelligences and different learning styles. Are you ready for that? Are you sure? Okay, good. So now if you can shake your hands. Been sitting for a little while, right? So just kind of move a little bit. Although the clapping and stomping thing was pretty fun, right? That was pretty awesome. Okay, so now this is fill in the blank. This is the first Earth Citizen Blank Festival. What is it? Peace. Okay, so bring up the peace sign. Okay, so peace, not victory. This is peace. Okay, peace. And then in American Sign Language, do you know I love you? Do you know how to make the I love you? It's like this. So it's I love you. It's like this. Okay, so I love you. Okay, so it's peace and I love you. All right, so this game is called Peace, I Love You. You like the name? It's pretty good, right? Okay, so now we say peace, and I love you. All right, it's a little hard, right? So peace and you can check which fingers went up. Okay, peace and I love you. It sounds good, doesn't it? I love you and peace. Okay, shake. Very good, very good. So what we're doing right now is we're exercising both sides of our brain. So you remember the Maori performance today? When they were doing all the juggling and all these kind of things to stimulate the left and right? Your left hand is connected to which hemisphere? To your right, and vice versa. So now we're going to step it up a notch. Okay, so one hand is going to be peace. The other hand is I love you. Whoa, okay. So we're going to switch. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Switch. All right. Good, 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 good. And ready? Yeah. If you mess up, just smile bigger. All right? Smile and breathe out. All right? And then switch. Yeah. Good. When you smile, your brain is processing much better. All right? And switch. I messed up too. Mistakes are okay. And switch. All right, so we're going to try 5 times. You guys ready? All right, here we go. 1. Good. 2. Yeah, smile a little bigger if you feel awkward. Okay. 3. 4. One more. All right, very good job. All right, so if you perform that exercise technically, with technical perfection, raise your hand if you were perfect. All right, most of us not. It's still challenging, isn't it? Yeah. But did you get a little bit better as you kept going? Yeah. Okay, so we did a couple of things, a couple of strategies there to help us. So one, what was one thing that we did that helped you? Right, so we resist things that we don't like. Do you agree? Right? We want to do things that we like. So when you have fun, your brain embraces it, right? You want to do it. And then if you're in an environment that scolds you and tries to, criticize you, then you're going to be afraid to try new things. But if you're in a nurturing environment that allows for mistakes and even celebrates mistakes, then you're going to try new things and you're going to challenge yourself, right? So smiling, breathing out, and telling yourself, I can do it, those simple things can change the way that your brain works. Does that make sense? So that's one very simple thing that we try to do in the classroom, is to create that environment where I can do it, I smile, and I breathe out, and then I embrace challenges. So we say, my brain loves challenges. Can you guys say that? My brain loves challenges. All right, let's applaud that one. Excellent. Oh, wow. Right, I like the applauding with your feet, too. That's pretty cool. And so we've created, our system is based on the 5 steps of brain education. So if you can see here, I'm fighting, going back and forth. If you can see the Brain Power 10, so we've, all of our teaching methods are based on the 5 steps of BE, and they incorporate elements of team building, physical health, focusing exercises, mindfulness training, memory utilization, emotional wellness training, confidence, creativity, character, and citizenship. So that's what we call the Power Brain 10, and all of our methods that we're teaching in the Brain Power classroom correspond to these 10 themes. And then in this book and in all of the trainings that we give to teachers, we try to keep it very, very simple, right? So I think this morning, Il-Chi Lee mentioned in his lecture, he wanted to create a method that even within 30 seconds you could learn it, right? So belly button healing is something that you can instantly feel the impact in your body and in your mind. So all of the methods that we teach, they're not complicated, they're very simple, and just meant to be used throughout the school day. And then I want to share some really good news. So one of the brain operating system principles is good news creates a good brain, right? So some good news for you guys. We've had a lot of success in the United States with these methods, and one of the best research that we have it comes from the Bronx, which is the poorest school district in New York City. So it's the South Bronx. We worked with 180 at-risk middle school students at the end of 2015. These were students who were at risk of dropping out of school, and we taught class to them once per week. And we did a 2-day empowerment workshop, similar to the Finding True Self workshop that many of you have taken at the adult level. And the results were pretty tremendous. So what we see here is this blue line here. These are the negative social emotional indicators before we started. And then these are all at drastically dangerous levels. Okay? So hyperactivity, conduct problems, emotional symptoms, and peer problems. After our training, they were down at the red bar here, okay? So the green is the difference, the outcome between before and after. So in an 8-week period, yeah, thank you. So in an 8-week period, the students were able to reduce the negative symptoms by 67%. And they were able to increase their pro-social behaviors by 50%. So that's really powerful data. And in New York City, because of those emotional wellness indicators, that's a big reason why we've worked with almost 200 schools there now. And the chancellor, Carmen Farina, recently recognized these efforts and is actively helping us to work with all 2,000 schools in New York City. Yeah. Yeah. There's some other really great data, but because time is short, I'll just say this. It also makes you smarter. How about that? Is that good? So we have some really great improvements in our recall, our memory, information processing, and sequential and quantitative reasoning. Our control group, or rather our experimental group, was able to improve at a rate about 3 times faster than the control group in those indicators based on the mind-body training. And now, as I mentioned, we've worked with about 400 schools nationwide and trained 12,000 teachers and 50,000 students. And our goal this year is to double that and to reach 100,000 new students in the United States. And our vision is then to use the model in New York City as a launching board. Many of you who are from the US or from other cities like LA and Atlanta and Houston, and really have this be the norm in all of the districts in the United States. So I want to thank all of you guys for sending energy to that dream. And I want to conclude. I had some other things to do, but looking at your beautiful faces, I just kept talking. So I'll finish here, but I want to share one of the quotes that, again, Il-Chi Lee is fond of saying. And he asked the audience, he said, and I'll never forget the first time he asked me this. He said, "Do you know why you were born?" And that's a really deep question, right? So everyone gets very quiet. And there's a lot of ways to answer that. But he said, "You were born because the 21st century Earth desperately needs you." And then he said, "You are the hope and the light of this time." And so that's something that I keep with me. And looking out into the faces of the audience here, that's what I feel, that we are the hope and the light of this time. And we are the people who are going to manifest this and share this and change our world to what we really believe in and what we really dream of. So thank you all for being part of that movement. Saranghamnida.